Hey, and we are live here on the Family Bathroom, episode 7. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you all for joining us tonight for a very special episode. Big events happened today, and this was not our planned topic tonight, but I would not be doing my patriotic duty as a podcaster if we did not discuss the events that happened in Washington, D.C. tonight. And so that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about tonight. Should be, very topical and interesting thing. Joining me as always is the two co-hosts. First, I'm going to introduce person here on my right, Miss Casey Frosty. How are you doing tonight?
Um, I'm doing all right. How are you doing today, Brody?
Still excellent. We'll see if we can make it through this podcast. Still excellent. Josh, down below me. How you doing, Josh?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing the best I can. How are you, buddy?
Excellent, excellent. Always excellent. Never not excellent. And then our new guest this week, Mr. Mbaku, Dale. How you doing today, Dale? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty decent. Can't complain. How are you doing today?
Doing excelente, as they say in other countries. So yeah, obviously to catch everyone up to speed in case. Well, I mean, if you're on Twitch, I mean, I assume you have access to Twitter or news. But big events happening in the Capitol, and it's still ongoing in DC. And it's all, it's been accumulating for a long time since, the election 4 years ago. And we were hoping, you know, I guess a lot of us hoped it would get better before it got worse. And it seems like we're still getting worse. But to quote, well, it's not the right person to quote, but to quote Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight, the night is darkest just before the dawn. And then he went to become Two-Face. So, we'll see how that goes. Hey, Crazy Shoys. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it.
That's my little brother.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. So,
Can I hold on? Can I say something real quick?
Sure, just interrupt my flow. Go for it.
All right, sorry, but his his name's supposed to be Crazy Shots, but for some reason, Shoy, I did the same thing. I made fun of him for it, but he was like, "I'm sorry, man. I was trying to put shots, and I guess I put a Y."
Well, the T and Y are right next to each other, so it is forgivable. But you should look at it before you hit submit. So there's a lot of this is a big topic tonight. There's a lot of different things we can start out with, and a lot of like questions going down different paths. So I don't necessarily know where to start because it's such a big topic to talk about. So I'm gonna do a shameless plug merch first and get some plugins out the way before we dive into this topic, because who knows, it might get a little heated. Who knows, politics is always heated, but maybe tonight's different. Maybe this is a nice group of people that will not have any differing opinions and will be nice to each other. And so quick plug in, there's some links going through the chat. I have a merch store, streameyes.com/broku_/merch. You can get cool beanies like this. It is embroidered. It's actually really nice. Again, I don't like to just shamelessly, because it's my merch. No, it's actually a really nice hoodie. Not hoodie, beanie. I also have a hoodie, but I don't have that on me this week. Also have this awesome autumn colored shirt. We have a bunch of products on our merch stores, so if you're interested in any, it helps out the channel. It's also nice clothes at a pretty cheap price compared to if you go to a bunch of other big streamers or something, or any big brands. It is pretty expensive. But yeah, I also have a YouTube channel, YouTube/Broku. I post a bunch of stuff on there, movie reviews, ranking series, gaming highlights from the Twitch channel. Yesterday we played Warzone, and we got some good old wins through that we posted on the channel. But myself, Josh, and another staple, Liam, joins us on that. And I don't just stream every Wednesday for the podcast. I do stream multiple times a week. And last plug-in, we do talk a bunch of stuff on this podcast. We go live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you ever miss a live episode, there's a YouTube channel for it. It is on YouTube with The Family Bathroom. It's our 7th episode, so there's already 6 episodes on YouTube. And again, the topics range all over the place. So, if you don't like a certain topic we talk about one week, that's totally fine. Join us for another week because it might be a topic you are interested in. It changes week to week. Myself, Casey, and Josh are your 3 main hosts, and then our 4th guest is a rotating out. So we've had a different guest on each episode, and that will hopefully continue on until we run out of friends to bring on, and we have to bring some repeats on. So that is all my plugs I'm going to throw upon you guys. Let's dive right into it. The title of this podcast is "This Is America?" ? Referencing a Childish Gambino song, which that message of that song similarly correlates to this whole debacle of this country has been in the past 4 months, leading up to the latest event that has struck our nation, and that is the Capitol being taken over briefly by, if you want to call them protesters, an insurrection, but essentially Trump supporters. You can go down the rabbit hole of was Antifa there too. Like, again, it's a very complex situation, and I'm not going to pretend I'm a political expert or an expert on any of this stuff. I'm pretty stupid when it comes to this stuff. So, don't take my word for fact. And as you guys are watching in chat, I do want to hear you guys' opinions on this as well. I'll bring up any, again, please fact check me if I misspeak or any of us misspeak. It is much appreciated. I am not ignorant person and stick my head in the sand when someone corrects me. I like to be corrected if I am being wrong, and I'll try and be as factual as possible. So around this afternoon, today was the big day. The House and Senate were supposed to confirm the Electoral College votes to see if Joe Biden would indeed become the next president here in a couple of weeks. And the House and Senate were in session to approve that vote. There was a gathering outside that proceeded and grew in numbers and proceeded to overrun the limited security force that they had in the Capitol. And the Capitol was pretty much overrun by this group for a certain amount of time. The House and Senate people had to get escorted and transported away to safety. And there's a bunch of pictures on Twitter. Some of them are actually pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie, of all like the people in the offices. And it's not a funny situation, but the pictures themselves are funny. And as of right now, the Capitol is retaken over, but it is secure at this point. And a lot of these, luckily, no politicians, senators, House representatives were hurt at this time. I believe one person was shot and killed. That is fact. And unless there's updated numbers from that, I believe it's only one right now. Who knows? That might change tonight. And the night is still young, so hopefully everyone stays safe up in DC. Obviously, tonight would not be a night to go out and peruse the town, probably. Just stay safe and don't do anything stupid or get yourself in any danger. So, I don't even know really where to begin with this. I guess, Dale, since you're our guest, I'm going to start with you. What is your overall take on the situation that transpired today? A lot of people, on Twitter, because we knew this day was coming, it's and we've seen it before on a Black Lives Matter protests and the security force they've had at the Capitol. And it really seemed like there was no one prepared for this, considering how easily these people were let into the Capitol. So that's one weird question mark we have about this is did they not anticipate or prepare for something like this to happen? 2, did you really think this was a possibility? If Trump lost the election, a lot of people would say, because there was, when he won the election, we had the Democrats and a lot of them protest the election, saying he's not our president because, technically he did lose the general election votes. And a lot of people were protesting then, and the Republicans were like saying, "You're being sore losers. We wouldn't do this if Trump lost." And then here we are, Trump's about to lose, and it's happening. I just want to hear your overall thoughts on the situation at hand and pretty much today's events and your opinion.
Well, today has definitely been a crazy day for sure. I guess to like start with the whole rioting and protesting thing on the Capitol, I just feel like the same amount of security that was demonstrated during the summer while there were lots of like Black Lives Matter protests going on. I feel like that should have been basically the equivalent. I'm not entirely sure, and it's kind of upsetting or whatnot because this summer when Donald Trump walked from the White House to a church holding a Bible, there was maximum violence from the security forces protecting, Donald Trump and all the officials of the White House. But in this, event, you didn't see the same type of effort that was displayed. So it's a little upsetting. And then talking about the Trump supporters saying we wouldn't do this to you. It's honestly just a back and forth situation because if you look at politics for like the last couple of years, it's literally just hypocrites going after other hypocrites and proving themselves to be even more hypocritical every time they try to criticize someone. I think it's just a situation where people are more about I guess getting justice for themselves versus seeing justice as a whole. um I it's just I think it's ridiculous how they can turn around and do all this rioting and protesting, and there's still a pandemic that's very well going on. It's not really finished yet.
I hate Josh so much. I'm sorry to.
It's fine. And it's just, and then on top of that, to make it worse, someone did die today. So being that there was a protest that turned into a riot and someone died today, and there's no like legal actions being taken against, well, from what I've heard, there's no legal action being
I'm gonna
uh,
kill you, man.
against. I just feel like if you're gonna ask for justice, make sure everyone receives the same amount of justice and equality, I guess.
Right. It really does seem, and I don't think I think the media has a big part to play in this, and we all need to do a better job as society. But honestly, like, I don't think you can, like, unless you're living under a rock, really see like there's many instances of like we've had, school shootings, mass shootings, you know, black people get shot down from petty crimes or like petty instances where they're not even doing a crime. And then here we have an actual instance of white people, mostly white people, storming a government building. And there's videos. Okay, this is one where I'll defend the cops. Like there's like 3 cops and there's a TikToker video like of them like escorting them in or like, opening the barricade and letting them in. I'll defend that and saying like I don't know what 3 to 5 cops are going to do essentially in that situation. Obviously they're well undermanned and armed, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, just, start shooting and start doing stuff." If I think that happened, then it would have been a lot worse, and it probably would have like, all right, it's a bull rush at that point, or like something. It could have got like really worse. So I'm not gonna, say the cops and the buddy, but it does seem weird that this like continues to happen. So I'm just gonna go over a couple people in the chat. Thanks for being here. So there's like a bunch of videos. Got people asking, did they actually stop anything or stop anyone really storming the Capitol? Outside, no. There are a couple of videos of I see like police officers like, telling them like don't, stay back and stuff. But like they're so undermanned and it's like just a couple officers compared to like hundreds of people. And I mean, they did the right thing and I guess really not start open shooting. I do know when they tried to get into I don't know, the chamber, I guess is what you call it, the people where everyone gathers. That was barricaded, and there are a couple pictures, and a lot of people are making Call of Duty Nazi zombie memes because there's like people at a window with guns. It's like, oh, it's round one of zombies. You'll see that meme a lot if you're a Call of Duty zombie player. Um, I do know someone did get shot and killed. I believe it was one of the protesters, and that's not don't want anyone hurt or dead, but when stuff like this happens, luckily it's only been one. It'll probably be more than one by the end of the night, honestly. And you know, it's a messed up situation. Um, so some other stuff we got going on in the chat. What legal action was taken by all the other looters? This sucks. How do we let the election go and left unnoticed with so many discrepancies and everyone be okay with it? That's another weird thing, but it's why, and I understand you have, a lot of right wing saying, oh, there's voter fraud, all this stuff, and then the left, obviously, or, depending on who's winning an election, right? How are we this in society in 2020, this far, hope, first world country, and the voting every single time? It seems like it was this last election, every election, there's question of voter fraud, and like how have we not like come up with a better way to do election and verify it? And you hear these conspiracy stories or like actual stories and articles, and it's like there's no way of ever really finding out anything. It's all like you just have to believe what they're saying, and there's never like concrete evidence. Don't you think that's weird, Casey? Like the voting is like this hotly debated, and it's like, is there really like no way of them actually like proving one way or the other?
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, obviously, if so, like a lot of right-wing people are claiming, voter fraud, and I think a lot of people on the left, like Democrats, and they're not gonna probably take, if there is voter fraud, because like, I mean, really nobody knows. Like, it's possible that there is, but it's also possible that this is all just rumors. I mean, we don't know. Um, but the left's not gonna probably go super far out of their way to try to prove that it's not. I mean, if
Right.
it's in their favor, why would they do all the extra stuff if they can just, shoot it down and be like, no, there's no voter fraud, you guys are dumb. But I mean, like, I don't know what the solution is for that because, I mean, you're right. It happens in a lot of elections where they claim voter fraud, and what do you do to fix that? Or do we
So,
all just give it up and be like, okay, we just have to be nice. Whoever wins, wins. But it will never work that way.
all right, to be fair, so now we're just, accusing Republicans like on the Democratic side. And when Trump won, we had the whole, oh, Russia is hacking the systems and pushing Trump. So it's like, is there not ways to like prove this stuff one way or the
Yeah.
other so you can actually concrete it? Like, I feel like we should be able to do that or just make a better system. I know I hear things about, not needing IDs to vote anymore. Like, I don't know. There's weird stuff that states do, or like, I don't know the answer. I don't want to pretend to know the answer, but it's just something that both sides will argue if when their side loses, whether it's another country interfering with the election, whether it's, stuffing ballots with illegal votes. It's, I don't know, but right now, currently, what they say is every time, all like the cases that Trump has brought up and saying there's fraud in the state, it's pretty much every, I don't want to say every, there might have been one or two I heard it was like, there was some like little stuff, but like for the main majority is like, no fraud happened. Our system's fine, which I don't know, you can believe it or I don't know. The government does hide a lot of stuff from people. Could this be one of them? Possibly. Josh,
One
what?
thing
Go ahead.
one thing that I hate is how much the media affects everything. Like one thing that someone pulls out of their butt, like say Trump did something to alter the election, the media's gonna pull that out of their butt and be like, "Oh, let's make something up," and then everyone starts believing it, and then it goes around the world, and there's just so much question. The one thing that I hate is media, is how much effect they have on everyday's everybody's beliefs. Like you read something on the internet, the average person is gonna be like, "Oh, that's a fact," but you didn't do any research. You never looked into it. You're just believing it because it's on the internet. And that's one thing that really pisses me off the most is how gullible they are with the media.
Right. And I don't know. Obviously, when you start talking about policing media, you're, freedom of speech, and that's like it's a hard thing to police news, but like it's more, I think, on the news themselves. And of course, they're just pushing for views and ratings and, you get money, and it's a money driven world. But I don't know. You would think humanity takes over at some point, and it's like they're not going to push fake stuff, but who knows? I mean, you hear, Fox News is traditionally known as a far right, and I don't even know what the other one is. MSNBC, the far left, supposedly. I don't even
Well,
know.
like
I
in
think
CNN.
CNN.
Well, yeah, but or if you just follow, Facebook or Twitter, and I see it to this day. People that you're friends with from high school, all the way, they share things that support their side, and the stuff that the bad stuff they don't really share, and then vice versa. So I just hate everyone. That's my policy. Politicians suck. The news suck. This country sucks. But I can't change anything about it. I can go out and do a vote and be the best person you could be. And I think that's what everyone is really frustrated about, because it seems like we're not able to progress and get anywhere. And I feel like, it's we're boiling up to a point, and who knows what's going to happen. Is this another step on the ladder of escalation of something? Who knows? But we'll see. This is ongoing development. Is nowhere near being over, and that kind of leads me into our next little part, which could be, Joe Biden is most likely, he's going to be the president, whether you think it was fraud or not that he got elected. That should be going through tonight, because I believe the House and Senate are going to confirm all the electoral votes, unless they push it to tomorrow because it's late. I don't think they are, but that should be confirmed tonight. There was talk. Well, there's a lot of talk about impeaching Trump again, which, since he got elected, they've been trying to impeach him. They did impeach him once. The Senate didn't approve it. So there's a lot of they want him to resign, impeached, or to invoke the 25th Amendment, which, for the people out there who don't know, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's pretty much when the president is unfit to be president anymore, whether it's physical health or he's not doing his job correctly. The vice president or whoever needs to take over in the situation. So a lot of people are pretty much just saying Trump, he needs to be out of office tonight, tomorrow, not be able to finish up his term anymore. Dale, what's your opinion on, what's the aftermath of tonight? What's going to happen in your opinion?
Um, to be honest, I just feel like there's going to be more, bigotry as usual after something political goes down. And I've talked to a couple people over the past holiday break, and we discussed that, it seems like, the further into the future we get, it's like the more that we go back in time with the way that we think or whatnot. And it's just, looking, and part of like how Josh was talking about the media like focuses on the bad and everything like that. It's just, no one ever wants to like focus on the potential of good that, the other side could, bring to the table. So, and I think the greatest example that I can think about is during Bill Clinton's campaign as president. He reached out, and I forget who, but he reached out to a Republican, looking for ways to do good and better the country. And it was like that's what we need versus people being like, oh, it's Trump all the way. All Trump supporters are, good and just, or oh no, is Biden all the way. All Trump supporters are bad. It's not necessarily, a battle of good versus bad. It's just, people are too blind to, find the middle and find a way to like work together. And that's the main problem that I have with politics. I hate politics, just like you, Brody. Um, nothing really nothing good really comes from it in today's modern society, and it's just ridiculous how much hate that people can get off of one conversation of politics describing their beliefs. People talk about the First Amendment and the freedom of speech, but when you get into political topics, no one wants to let the other person speak. And I saw something today that said I think Trump got his Twitter suspended for like 12 hours or something like that.
Yep.
And it's just that's it's kind of sort of I don't know what he posted, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people got mad about it, or it was something like upsetting or whatever. It was just like the problem with today's I guess candidates for president is that they, even though they're supposed to represent us the people, they tend to let their emotions get the better of them sometimes. And you know it's not something ideal that we need for running a country, especially in the times that we live in today.
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to see why Trump got suspended. There's a couple tweets and then like a minute video addressing the nation. But he pretty much in his video, he was saying the people do need to go home quietly, peacefully, but he kept enforcing like the election was still like fraudulent and all that. It's like read the room. You're still inciting the people by saying what they're doing and their cause what they're doing is right, but to go home anyway, that's not what you say. Yeah, we love you. You're beautiful people, but you need to go
But go
home.
home.
And it's like, I don't know, just be like, you just need to denounce what they're doing is wrong because it is wrong. Just to go quietly back home and peacefully. You're risking the men in blue, which, Blue Lives Matter is a big pushing point for these people. You're risking their lives, and those are the people you're supposed to be supporting all the time during the other Black Lives Matter movements and stuff. Like, but no, he just had to like continue his fraudulent election push, and it's like still inciting his people or those people that did the thing. It's just like, I don't know, read the room. And Twitter officially did suspend his account for 12 hours, and which, he shouldn't have done. And I don't know why he does the thing he does. Um, because he says stupid things like that his whole time. And honestly, he's been saying stupid stuff for 25 years. That's not new for Trump, but we'll see. So, Josh, where do
Yeah.
what happened? Where do we go from here?
I think, me personally, I think if we continue going the route we're going, America is gonna turn into a shithole more than it already is. I think at point y'all need we to realize that we can work together and make things, like, if we feel that Trump isn't a good president, then we can get him out. Oh, it's us as a nation that votes this person in. So we need to start working together. 100%. That's the first thing that we need to do to ever see anything anything become better, if that makes sense. Um, it's just one of those things where it's hard to say because of the situation we're in. Like, I've never thought this was gonna have to be something that I actually see in my lifetime. And I don't want to. I hate every minute of it, every and definitely I'd say just work there and hopefully get things back on the right foot.
Well, I think, well, this is kind of going back to what Dale was saying earlier, about how like just extreme everything is, and it's become, I feel like now, instead of it just being like we're all, because I feel like it used to be, we're all people with different beliefs. Everyone comes from different places. We all have different beliefs. But, we want to work together to make the country, what we at least want it to be. But I feel like just there's a new narrative that's like completely taken over really recently, where it's now, you know, left versus right, but much more extreme than it used to be. And, there are like so many Republicans that are like, if you're a liberal, I hate you. And then there's so many, people on the left, they're like, if you're a Trump supporter, I never want to talk to you again. But it's like, we have different ideas about things for a reason. So why not want to listen to people that think differently than you and understand their thought process? And, you'd be surprised, like, what you might actually agree with or what you disagree with. And, I feel like that's something that definitely needs to start happening again, is like listening to each other and stop surrounding yourself with like identity politics. You don't have to identify yourself with a party and only see that all the time. You need to hear the other side because they're the other side for a reason. So listen to the other side, understand it, and develop your beliefs in a, more mature way, because otherwise no one's going to be educated.
Right. Pretty much
That's wrong
how
with it.
politics has been ever since, I've grown up enough to be conscious of the world that's around me is it's always party lines whenever you hear votes in Congress. It's all the Republicans vote one way, all the Democrats vote another way, and maybe 5 to 8% of the time there be swing votes that pass something, but a lot of time stuff sits in. I mean, hell, look around all the other countries. I'm just using this as an example. Like Canada and England, London, or UK, whatever you want to call, and other European countries. They've been getting stimulus and other benefits since they had to be on lockdown once a month, every month, and the amounts vary. But that's just something we've gotten up until this point. $1,200 for that was back in like March, and we're December, and obviously it's rolling out now to get another 600. So let's just say 1,800, and for pretty much 10 months we got 1,800. And some places are open like Florida, a lot of places like California and New York. Other places are a lot more stricter and still shut down pretty strictly, and the varying levels in between. And they've been sitting on like another, I don't know, stimulus relief bill, but it's been so hotly debated and nothing's gotten approved this entire time until now. And if you read bills, it's always, the bill does not need to be like 600 pages. I know there's a bunch of legal garbo that you gotta throw in, but like I've only read a couple bills, but or like parts of bills, but just all the amount of other like fluff is what they call it that they throw in, like support their side or like stuff that's totally unrelated. And that's why like one side won't approve the bill, is because they don't want to like, no, why is this completely unrelated thing in this bill? We're not approving that. And luckily they did finally get this done, but it shouldn't take 8 months since we got our last one to like come through. And a lot of people are literally struggling out there, getting evicted, whatever the case be. They're jobless. Like, it's a terrible situation of this pandemic, and no one's seems to really care. And that's where a lot of his frustration, I think, comes from. But back to like just Democrat, Republican, another thing I think is a problem is it's the same people in the House and Senate. And I honestly think there should be term limits on how many times. Like, I am a strong dislike of Nancy Pelosi, and I have a strong dislike for Mitch McConnell. I am not picky on, Republican, Democrat, but they're both, I think, shady people. And I think there should be term limits. You get new voices in there, but it's all they're just like figureheads for their party, and I get it. But I don't know. I don't think anything changes when you have the same people that have been in power for like 20 years now and like nothing has changed. So, as Casey was saying, the status quo of like voting down party lines and like something needs to change. And I don't know if it will change within the next couple of years because it's the elections. Obviously, Nancy's the House again. The same polarizing people seem to, get reelected. But how does the party system move forward where it can be more compromisable? Like, because right now, again, it's my side or nothing. Like, how do we push forward and with our government to be able to compromise on stuff and get stuff done? Are we able to keep the Republican and Democratic Party as they are constructed and just get new people in there or like change things up? Or like honestly, does like a total restructure need to happen, which let's be honest, that's never going to happen probably in my lifetime. But like, Dale, what do you think? How does this get fixed?
Like we were saying before, I think it's a matter of there needs to be new people put in, positions. Because, like you said, if we keep the same people in the same position, then there's nothing learned. There's nothing that will change. They're just gonna always stick to what they believe. But if we can get, people that have been experiencing the world that we live in now, and are open to different ideas or whatnot, then I think there's a potential that we can, see some progress. And if we keep the same people that are in, power and office now, I feel like the future generations are going to lose, a sense of, why are we so separate and why are we so different? They're just going to learn that, oh, it's this way, this is the right way, this is the only way, versus, oh, well, this is just an option. There's always different ideas that you can support and different ideas that you can back up. And it's I don't know, because it is America, and America is pretty terrible when it comes to politics. But there's always hope that eventually we can have people in office that are actually open to working for the people versus just themselves.
Josh, do you have an opinion on how, this is all like hypothetical because again, I doubt we'll ever see like the two parties ever be abolished. But in your mind, how do you think this gets fixed?
I know, like for me, in most situations, like as you grow up, your parents will tell you right from wrong. They'll say you have to believe this and believe this. You do this and do this. And like, I know people that they're only Democrat or Republicans because their parents told them to. Like, you need to learn to educate yourself and pick for yourself. It's doesn't matter what your parents think. Like, yeah, they can be upset at you, but at the end of the day, you have a say in all of this, and then you're just gonna go throw it away because your parents told you to. You need to really educate yourself. Um, I think getting rid of Democrat and Republicans is a very long shot, but it would be kind of for the better because just putting Democrat and Republicans, you might be dividing everyone. And that's 100, like, that's just not right. Like, we're all people of America. We all have feelings. We're humans. We're literally the same, just different personalities. And they're dividing us by putting a name on Democrat and Republican. But definitely, I would say try to get rid of that. But like I said, that's not happening anytime soon. But definitely, if you are just turning 18, you are old enough to vote, definitely go educate yourself. Don't just follow what your parents told you to do or what your parents say is right. Definitely go educate yourself to see what you really want for this country.
Yeah, and I'll say like hashtags. You see like hashtag vote blue no matter who. and I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm being biased, and like I don't know about what the Republican side hashtag, if there is one, but like that stuff I think is just dangerous because there's crazies on both sides, and just saying, "Oh, I'm always going to vote Republican no matter what the bill is, the person is," and same thing for Democrat. It's a dangerous mindset to be uh, um believing in, where I'm always just going to vote down the party line. I'm going to ask you guys a question because I don't know the answer, but it's been this way the entire country's history. But is there a reason why we have like parties, so to speak, and why it's not just like generalistic people and like you just vote on the person and this is what this person's beliefs and what they want to accomplish. This is what this person's beliefs, what they want to accomplish, and you just vote for that person. And it's just we have 100 senators not aligned to any party. We have so many representatives not like associated with a party. Is there and like whoever like when something gets voted on, the majority wins, but it's not like party lines. Is there a reason why there's parties?
I
Because I
think
honestly don't. I know there's an answer, but I don't know the answer. That's what I'm asking you guys.
so. I think it happened during the John Adams administration, after George Washington, and I think it was more of the lines that he got elected to be president because he was vice president to George Washington, but the way that he was running the country, uh, the way I think history put it is that he was more concerned about popularity and people liking him, and people respecting him versus insulting him. So I think there was a matter of, if you don't respect me, then you're not representing the party or whatever. You're not representing the United States, and I think that's kind of sort of how like parties started breaking out. I know that it happened like right after George Washington stepped down, just because that was a major thing we talked about back in history class.
Sorry, my mic was muted. I would say even like when you take it back to like the Federalist, Anti-Federalist, like back in like 1700s, it was like Hamilton, Madison. Like
Hmm.
it goes back like all the way to the beginning, and I guess I don't know. People are just comfortable in groups, and they like to be surrounded by people that agree with them. I mean, that's just life. Like that's just how we are. Like I'll text people before class, "Hey, did you do the homework?" And then they're like, "No," and I'm like, oh, "Okay, me either." I I don't know why. It's just we like to be in groups. Um, so it literally goes back all the way to the very beginning, like during the writing of the Constitution. So
Well, going on the events tonight, are there anything positive to take away from an event like tonight? Anything we can take from and learn? I would say, if there is one, in my opinion, is that if because I kind of think in my heart that the House and Senate are the politicians. You know, stuff was happening, but it's like unless it happens in your own house or like on your own territory, it's kind of like you're kind of oblivious to it, if that makes sense. Kind of like if stuff happens in another country, it's like, oh, we're here in America. It's like, yeah, it sucks, but it's like you're not affected. Like this happened literally while they're in session, and it's like a scary thing. So hopefully, if there's any positive, I think to take from this is like if they weren't taking it 100% serious, like they do take it 100% serious now and actually like, okay, this country's like hurt right now and like we need to come together and fix something. And because it could still get a lot worse. That's the only thing I can think of as a positive to take from tonight. Josh, do you have anything you can take from tonight in a positive light?
For me, it's you don't really gain anything out of rioting. Um, we didn't, or Trump supporters didn't really gain anything out of it. They did a lot of damage to property and everything, but what did you really gain? Trump isn't the president, or it's not going to be the president anymore. Biden's still living happy. He's going to be the president. Like, you didn't really gain anything. So, hopefully, in the light that next time someone about rioting, they'll think back to this and say, I didn't really gain anything out of it.
Casey, do you have anything to take away from tonight?
I don't know what exactly there is to take away from it. I don't think people aren't gonna stop rioting. Like I mean, it's been going on forever, and it's not gonna stop. When people are upset and they want to change, I mean, you're constitutionally protected to do that, as long as you're technically doing it peacefully,
That's
which I
then
don't
that's not a
think.
riot. Is
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm just saying, like, people aren't gonna stop assembling. So I don't know what to take away from it. I think things are gonna keep, maybe after, the inauguration and like a couple weeks pass, maybe things will start to settle down. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the weird thing is like it's day by day. You never know what's going to happen because
Yeah.
It'll be lucky if tonight's. Oh, I haven't been on Twitter the past hour on trending or anything to see what else has happened. I know the curfew went up at 6 p.m. and I haven't heard any like this. It's not like stores are getting broken into or like cars getting flipped and people are marching down the street. I bet I heard of or anything like that. But who knows? The night's still pretty young in terms of that. But again, we should hear by tonight Biden's president-elect. The next step is something happens to Trump within the next 14 days, why he's still technically active president. If they finally like remove him, or what that whole situation's still to play out, because as you see all the senators or the House people on Twitter saying impeach, this guy needs to go. And it goes down the list of people saying stuff like that. Even Republicans are turning on Trump now. Like Pence has denounced them pretty much, like McConnell. So I think that's the next domino to fall. And then after that, we can talk about Georgia a little bit. I definitely know one got confirmed, seat flipped. I don't know if the second one's been confirmed, but they were in Democratic lead. So technically, the most likely outcome is the Senate is now flipped, or it's 50-50, but the tiebreaker vote would go to vice president. But so essentially the House, the Senate, and president, so Congress and the president, will be Democratic. So it's the first time this has happened, I believe. Oh God, it's been a long time since the one party had power and, all three. Obviously, the Supreme Court's still Republican favored judges, but that's not a big really player when it comes to lawmaking. Also, it's like unconstitutional where they can fight it. But what are the big things that you would like to see happen when it comes to new laws being made, or like things to like try and help mend this country? Dale, what would you like to see? Obviously, not everything can fix in a year, but we got tuition. That's a big supporting thing from the Democratic parties, like college tuition or like college loans. You got minimum wage. You got health care. Stimulus because if there's a pandemic. You got the lockdown severity. Like, should we go back into lockdown now? Obviously, you live in Florida, which is Republican, and it's pretty much just been open. It's been crazy down there. What do you think the first couple acts you think they're going to push for when they come in power, essentially in like 2 weeks?
Well, for one, I would hope that, they make things, more strict with, being out in public, being that we are still going through a pandemic. Just because, for one, with everyone protesting at DC today, the main thing that I have a problem with is that, you're putting work essential people at risk. So if you're out there in a large group and you catch COVID and then you have to go to the hospital to get tested and everything, you're putting someone else at risk for something that you could have avoided. And it makes me, I guess, more upset just because one of my aunts, she's a nurse, and so she has to, help, take care of people. And, if she got COVID because someone was being stupid and, got exposed to it at their own fault, then I would be very upset because now she has to, stop working to quarantine and fix herself or take care of herself and get rid of the symptoms of COVID and the virus itself. And, you know, like you said earlier, we're living in a time where people are struggling to, stay in a house and not be evicted and, provide for, their families just to be able to eat, or especially up north with it being cold, just being able to, keep the heat on so they don't freeze. Another thing that I would, like to see is that, so I don't know completely about Georgia, but I know something. It's something about, if you're a resident of the state of Georgia, then I think your college tuition is like pretty much free, or it's like you have to pay like a low amount.
Hmm.
The thing that I would like to see with that is that, your college tuition, um, it's based off of how well you do in school, because not everyone who goes to college, takes it seriously. There's a lot of people that go out and party, and then you see them turn on academic probation, drop out of college when someone else could have used that same tuition. So I think it's more of on the line. I would like to see them, like, I guess, be strict about that too. You can have a low tuition and, go to school basically free, as long as you make sure that you're doing your work and keeping a decent GPA and, not wasting the opportunity that you've been given.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to that tuition thing, it's been a hot topic debate for a while now, and it's always been like Democratic side, either like completely like get rid of student loans and or heavily reduce the amount of loans you like, or like reduce the loan debt. Because I believe it is pretty crazy, people coming out of like med school, for instance, and obviously, yeah, doctors pay high, but like, geez, when you have to pay like over $100,000 getting out of college in loans, and the interest on that you're just paying forever, is pretty messed up. So hopefully they do something, and yeah, of course, the other side debate would be like, oh, but I was responsible with my money, I paid all my student debt off. It's like, you win some, you lose some. Like, you should be, sorry, this one did not affect you personally, but you got to save money, but other people are save like not being riddled with debt. So it's like, I don't know, maybe there's bills that affect people more so than others. So it's
And I
go ahead.
definitely that hits more home for me. Like my parents, they're very responsible with money, but I think it was 8 years ago. So my parents were in like their 30s, mid 30s, and they just finished
Hmm.
their student loans off. Like, and they didn't go to college for years and years to be a doctor or anything. Like, by no means is that the case. But I know like they're all about saving money. They are very, very smart. They don't just blow money on everything. And it took them 20 something years to get it all paid off. To me, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. With the sentiment, like I came out of college with like 20, after all it's said and done, by the time I finished paying it off, because I did pay it off last year, it's like 25 grand, which is like a low amount. I pretty much took classes over through the fall, spring, and summer. It took me 5.5 years to finish school. So I tried to be as smart and conservative without taking as many loans as possible. And I pretty much didn't go out, spend money on frivolous things. Like, my car is not, crazy. I don't have like Tesla or fancy car. I didn't like jump out the house right away at 18. Like, technically I'm still with my parents and stuff. I'm trying to buy a house now. But like, be smart with, I've had to make sacrifices from what a lot of people do to, like, now I completely own my car. It's not under, loan or interest. I don't have any student loans. And if I find out a week from now, like, oh, all of this could have been like, I could have saved 20 grand, that would like inherently, yeah, that would hurt me inside. Like, I'll be low key pretty mad about that. And I honestly don't know what they're going to do. Um, because there is a problem, if you go to school, a lot of people do drop out. Like, the college that I went to, dropouts pretty high for colleges. I think It's only like a 60 something percent graduation rate, so it's obviously like 30 some percent dropout. And no, most people should not have any loans forgiven. But I believe if you are able to graduate, I don't think all should be forgiven. It should probably be like a percentage of your loans, or the interest should be lower than what they are because interest rates are stupid on loans, or a percentage should be forgiven. But you should be given time to be able to find a stable job and like, it should be easily worked around so you can not have to sacrifice a bunch to be able to like pay that off. Casey, what is something you're wanting to see this new administration pass within the next couple months or talk about passing? We got stimulus relief, pandemic measures, minimum wage, healthcare. There's tons of stuff out there.
Um, I do personally think healthcare should be more accessible for like more people. Um, I don't know exactly. Well, I guess I'm not going to get into like all of my beliefs and stuff like that, but I do think more people deserve to have better healthcare and like more access to stuff like that. Because some stuff that's considered luxury when it comes to healthcare shouldn't be luxury. I think some people deserve. I think everyone deserves like basic rights to healthcare, but also like getting into minimum wage. I think what is minimum wage in Virginia now? Is it still 7.25 or did it go
I
up?
think
It,
so.
okay, so they did pass the law. It was supposed to go in effect last year. It was supposed to bump up 950 and go up each year, but due to pandemic and the craziness of jobs having to like close down stuff, they did not. They delayed it a year. So technically, unless they reconvene beginning of this year and push it back again or change it, it is supposed to go to 950 this year. But the federal minimum
Okay.
wage, which I don't know how many Virginia was on that list, but I don't know how many more states are still on the federal minimum wage, which is 725. But Virginia's going up to 950,
Okay.
and it
Yeah, I
goes up
think
each year.
okay. Yeah, I was gonna say because 7.25 is like
That's stupid.
incredibly low. Like that's insanely low. And I think minimum wage, they talk about making minimum wage $15 an hour. I don't know if that's reasonable. I don't exactly know like all the details to everything, but I definitely think people should not be making, $8 an hour in the world we live in now because that's not livable. You think about like someone who's, just bought an apartment or something and they're making 8.50 at the McDonald's, like that's not livable because you put in like um the cost of the apartment and then groceries and then power bills and stuff like that. Like minimum wage should be up. I don't know if $15 an hour is, a legit thing. I don't know if it would work. I don't know if that would make everything more expensive. Um, but definitely it's good that it's going up, at least in Virginia.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So with minimum wage being low, my question to y'all is, do you really well, let's for instance, like someone who drops out of college, they don't want to go to school anymore or even drop out of high school, and then they go to McDonald's and they're making 750. To me, I guess in my eyes, like if y'all have a problem with it or want to talk about it, y'all can. To me, that's not outrageous because they could have gone to school for something. Say, for instance, I want to be a nurse. They could have gone to be a nurse and make a shit ton of money, but instead they decided to drop out of school because they didn't want to put in all of that work. Do you really think we should award them with extra money for minimum wage, even though they chose themselves not to go take that extra education, that extra 2-3 years of their life, which isn't much? And do you think we
Well,
should really award them?
um, of course there are people that do drop out just because they don't they failed out or whatever. But also, not everyone's case is the same. You have people who are dropping out because maybe they have like a sick mother or father they need to be with, or you know, it's getting too expensive and they aren't going to be able to afford it for the rest of their life. Everyone's situation is different. So I don't think you can, base it on education. And not everyone has the ability or the option to even go to college. Some people have to start working right out of school, like high school. So I feel like you can't really base minimum wage on education. And also, there are high schoolers working minimum wage jobs because they have to support their family, um, which is like a sad reality. But there are people in high school who are helping their parents pay bills. And I feel like, we can't base it on just the fact that, oh, well, you could have gotten an education, which could have made you make more money in the end. You know what I mean?
Is that the average
Yeah,
person though that
definitely.
has to
Here,
take care of that family? Because like for me, that average family is like me. I'm not some really poor family, and I'm also not I would say I'm more of that middle average family where I can go to school and all of that. And to me, like, if you have an opportunity to get more education, to make that extra money that you so want, why wouldn't you just go and do that? Like, I understand there's different sides to each story, but I guess that average person can go to college. Average person has the ability to. Just a lot of people don't want to because with school.
what I would say is, um, based on what I've seen, there are a bunch of people who don't take college serious and end up dropping out. I will say to that point, you know, hopefully, I don't really see because adults go to college too. It's not like it's a only after high school thing, and they take it serious. I think it's a lot of immaturity at that point when it's like there your whole like future is at stake, and it's one of those things. I don't think they're that like self-aware. But when it comes to minimum wage, I think every job should have a minimum wage that fits what could be the basic, I mean, like bare basic, like I can go find a cheap apartment and live. I don't think there should be a wage for a job that's low enough where like you can't find a roof over your head type thing. And I don't think you should, should admit you shouldn't be making like, if let's say $15 an hour we're able to buy you like this bougie apartment and car and stuff, and you're like at a job like that. No, I don't think that should be the case, but you should be able to afford a roof over your head with a minimum wage job. And it does depend on your area. Like obviously living in DC or New York or Los Angeles or something, it's hella expensive compared to, Wyoming, you know, the bayou. Like based on where you live, minimum wage should affect that. It shouldn't just be the standard thing, because businesses will go under based on where you are. It's like, well, I can't afford that, or I have to like jack my prices up. Whereas like big corporations like Amazon, Google, who are like, their people are like quadrillionaires at this point. Like, Jesus, how much money does like Bezos and Zuckerberg and stuff have? Like, yeah, they can probably afford it and they should be doing it. But I think whatever the minimum wage is, to let people be able to basically have a roof over their head and buy necessity groceries. No, they don't need lobster for dinner. Like you by not for trying to educate yourself or like furthering that, or like trying to improve. And again, there are some situations in life where you're dealt a shitty hand, and hopefully you can work your way safe out of that. But if you like screwed up your hand, then yeah, you now sacrificed your avocado toast, you sacrificed your fancy car, you sacrificed your beef tenderloin and lobster stuff, but you should still be able to like live, is what I'm saying. In a first world country. Obviously in other countries it is what it is, but that's my idealistic goal. Dale, what do you think?
So I kind of agree with that. I think minimum wage should really be based off of, where you live. Because, for instance, um, when I lived back in Williamsburg, I mean, didn't seem like, I looked at like apartments and stuff, but apartments up there was a lot cheaper than apartments down here. So, and I'm already thinking ahead of like, the type of jobs I'm gonna have to like look for it just to, cover my half of rent. Luckily, I have a roommate, so it's not just based off of me, but like for an apartment, just by, you know, if you're just living by yourself, it's close to $1,100 to $1,200 down here. So I don't think that 750 is gonna, really help me, keep a roof over my head and barely help me, keep food in my stomach. And like I said, I really think it's based off. It should be based off of where you live. That the minimum wage is different. And kind of sort of going back to the topic of college, I guess students dropping out. Um, like Casey said, not every situation is the same, and not totally going against you, Josh, but not every single person or every single family is average. You do have like the odd cases where this is what it is. This is a story. This is what they have to go through. It's something that they have to push through, and I've seen a couple friends drop out of school because they realized that they didn't have enough money to pay off the loans or whatnot. So finding a way to live without that was their reality that they had to face and push through. And like for me, luckily I haven't ran into any situations with my tuition, but my tuition for the like next 2 years is 85,000 total. And luckily, my parents, they served in the military, so my dad passed down like a lot of his federal like education benefits to me, but I still have like 8 months that I have to get covered, which is still a lot. I think that's like roughly around 35,000 that I still have to cover. So I think it's more of a matter, if you do have the chance to go to college and better yourself and take the chance to make money so you have a better chance of a better future, then definitely take it. But like we said earlier, not every case is going to be the same. So it's really a matter of, I guess, your moral compass. So if you do value family more than, bettering yourself, then I think that's what you should go with. I think because that's something I would do. If something happened at home, I would do the best I could to wrap up down here and go home and take care of my family. But luckily, that's not the situation, and I don't have to go through that. It's really based off of the situation that's in the times, and like Brody said earlier, we don't really know the circumstance until it's something that hits close to us.
And the last thing I'll say about the whole minimum wage thing is it sucks because obviously 20 years ago things cost different than what they do now. I don't remember the last time it did go up, but obviously the cost of living has gone up while the minimum wage hasn't changed. And obviously you can't just raise minimum wage because then the stuff is still going to keep up going higher. But kind of sucks that's the economy we're in, where a lot of places can't necessarily raise it, but everything else is still going up because then they'll go under. And as a business owner, yeah, it does suck, but that's another thing. Like hopefully it's another thing that hopefully we can get fixed, but probably not. Like most things, nothing ever gets fixed or helped. But you can pray if you're into that, or you could have lucky charms or anything like that. Ryan in chat, if you remember Ryan Dale, wants to know what mic you're using.
Oh, God. I think
Some he found on Amazon.
No. Close, but not exactly. It's an MXL 770 condenser microphone.
All right, who haven't I asked yet about what would they like to see this new administration do? Who did I not ask? Did I ask everyone?
I think you did. I think we kind of sort of like end up like
I don't remember. We
We
turned that
got
into a
sidetracked,
different
yeah.
discussion.
Well,
That's something
again,
that-
all this stuff you're going to be hearing in the news that they're going to be talking about. Obviously, I think one of the first things we will get is we will get another stimulus, or since I already got it, you can say it's a third, but like I think it is going to go up from 600. That's like I would bet someone, if you don't believe me, I'll bet if we do get it, my stimulus, if we, or technically we don't get a stimulus, I won't have one to bet. Whatever, you get the point. I think we are going to get a stimulus update, and that's probably going to happen pretty soon. Healthcare is a big thing, so that's another thing that's always contested, and yeah, it's a weird day today. Does anyone have any lasting thoughts about today as a whole? What a country we live in, right? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Dale.
I have like one thing to say. So, I think earlier when we were talking about, what can we learn from today? They always say that, your greatest teachers are going to be the mistakes that you make. So I think today with, protesting, there was nothing that was really won. Like Josh said earlier, if anything, you consider it more of a defeat, because if you are going to do something and, someone dies because of something that, or someone dies because it wasn't planned at all or anything, and there could have been measures to like ensure everyone's safety, then it's definitely a loss. If you have to lose lives for a cause that can be completely avoided, then I don't like, for something like protesting and like going against people counting the total votes, then that's a major loss. So like I said, I think today's like mistakes would be great teacher for the future generations.
Well said. Well, again, everyone, I believe unless there's anything else anyone wants to jump in and talk about, I guess we can, wrap up tonight's episode. Again, the Family Bathroom goes live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll be back live next week. Who knows what will happen in 7 days, and if there'll be something else crazy to talk about, or we can talk about our planned topics. But again, I'm going to do my shout outs. I'm going to let Dale as our guest. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. Is there anything that you would like to promote, shout out? I know you make some music. Do you have a link, SoundCloud, or anything, or do you want anything to promote?
So I do have a SoundCloud, and I'll put it in the chat real quick. But I also started uploading music onto Spotify, because I made that my New Year's resolution. I'm gonna hit that 5,000 listeners, whatever it takes. I'm gonna get there. So it's literally just my name, Dale Lau Jr. on Spotify. And if you don't know how to spell my name, I'll put that in the chat too.
What kind of music you make?
Really, it's just lo-fi. It's basically whatever I'm feeling. And that's what I make. Sometimes it's based off of like a show or a movie. So like two of my beats on SoundCloud are based off of something I've watched. So like one of them is based off of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ooh.
And then the other one that's on SoundCloud is based off of the CW show The Flash, because I'm a huge fan of The Flash. And other than that, I do have one beat that's not like published and out for anyone to like listen to it, unless I've sent it to the individual. But it's inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender, and like one of the songs that they played on the Kalimba. So it's just, I guess it's really just basically what I feel, or like if someone asks me to like make something specific, then like I'll make that or try to make that. But other than that, it's just really what I feel.
What can we expect in the future? Are you planning on any singing? You gonna try to collab with anyone?
I'm not entirely sure, because with COVID and everything, it kind of does limit me, and with me being in Florida, I'm not trying to like get exposed or expose anyone else. Also, because I believe like we have a new strand of COVID down here, that's even more of a reason to like not get with people. But if COVID wasn't a thing, I have talked to like students at my school, with potentially like collabing, seeing what we can make together. I personally, I don't sing unless like I'm in the car driving by myself, just feeling the vibe, or if I'm singing in the shower. Um,
Don't
but
we all?
other than that, I don't really know because I'm trying to learn how to play like guitar now, um, and that's gonna like take a while before I can sound somewhat decent. Um, and I currently play piano. I would love to like incorporate more of a saxophone type sound to my music, but saxophones aren't ideally cheap. The main saxophone I played throughout high school, the baritone saxophone. The lowest price averages around like $6,000, and being a college student, I need those $6,000 to like keep ramen noodle, going in my stomach, finding a way to survive. So, depending on how I guess successful finding a decent paying job down here, and how successful my future is, I guess kind of sort of dictates and dictates what you could possibly hear in my music.
Nice. Well, again, thanks for being on, Dale. We would love to have you on again in the future, if you would join us. As always, thank you, Josh and Casey, for joining and being a part in making this podcast possible. If you guys missed any of tonight's episode or any previous episode, you can always find us on our YouTube channel. The VOD does go up. Generally the next day I get it up, so it should be up tomorrow, probably tomorrow night, on the Family Bathroom YouTube channel. And then lastly, guys, again, if you want a sweet, sweet, comfortable beanie like you see on my head, or awesome shirts, sweatshirts, and other merchandise, feel free to check out. The link's been in the chat as well. But if you go to streamlabs.com/Broku_/merch, or you can go to Josh himself has merch. It is streamlabs.com/crazystill. How you spell it is right there on his little panel /merch. And again, we stream a couple times a week, playing different games. So feel free to come out, hang out with us, and shoot the S word and play some games. Watch us fail miserably or win. Who knows? It changes week by week and day by day. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. And from our bathroom to yours, I hope you all have a good night and see you next week.
Bye.